Hey everyone, this is your host Red and my partner Lori, and this is the Marketing Material Handling webcast. How are you, Lori?
Hi, Red. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. Who is our guest for today?
So our guest today is Agim Duka, and he's the principal at Quest Media 360, which really specializes in PPC or pay-per-click. So welcome, Agim. Thank you for joining us.
Hi there. Nice to be in your show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice that you're here. We appreciate it. So why don't you start kind of kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the world of PPC, and what Quest Media 360 takes care of.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. That's great. So Quest Media 360, it's a digital marketing agency. We're located in Mississauga, Ontario. We offer PPC, SEM, SEO services to different companies, different sizes, different industries within Canada, locally and internationally. Our company, it's quite experienced with over 15 years in business. We started the early days with digital marketing, and then we in 2000, when the Google AdWords platform came in, we continued with it, and we provided those services in the early days. And then as the platform continued to evolve, we continue to provide those services to our clients throughout the years, and we're still doing that today. The number of services provided, it's a little bit more wider now. The platform has evolved. We, besides Google, we provide services for Facebook, LinkedIn, and other major platforms, Microsoft Ads, and other platforms as well.
Yeah, you guys are really doing a little bit of everything.
Lori, before you proceed,
yes.
So for people that don't know where Mississauga, Ontario is, it's in Canada.
That's true.
And it is a city just west of Toronto. Most people would know what Toronto is.
Right.
So Mississauga, Ontario is also actually considered part of the greater Toronto area.
Okay.
And why I know that is, disclaimer, I work with Agim. He's been working with me for the past 2 to 3 years, something like that. And that's why I suggested for him to be as a guest, is so that he can share his knowledge to us and to our audience.
Okay.
Myself, I've been a web designer. I was doing our PPC for such a long time myself, but when I found him, he seems a lot smarter than me. So that's why, okay, let's work with Agim. So before you proceed, Lori, I'm just going to flash our topic for today, which is PPC. Is it still relevant? Because like you're one of the marketing managers that are kind of like not seeing a lot of that right now in terms of relevance to business. And let us help have Agim enlighten us.
Yeah, so I am excited to talk about this. And so to give everybody a little bit of background on where I am with PPC, I've been in the material handling world for officially now 22 years, but I had a brief stint in Yellow Page marketing. And Yellow Pages truly was the marketing piece that could kind of randomly keep your company name and number out in front of everybody. And in several ways, it feels like the digital marketing piece and the Google Ads have replaced that. But we personally, our company did PPC for quite some time. It's where we put the bulk of our money, if you looked at our particular budget. And yet over the last 3 to 4 years, I really saw our results declining. You know, our impressions were increasing, but our actual conversions were on a deep decline. And I made the decision when we entered into 2021 that I was going to end our PPC program. And that was a really tough decision for me because it feels like PPC is just what marketing does. It's one of the tools that we should always be using. And so it was really tough for me to come out to my peers and say, I'm not going to run any more campaigns. I almost felt a little embarrassed talking about it. So that's really what I'm excited to learn about today from you, Agim, is it relevant, and how is it relevant? How do we make it relevant for our particular business and industry?
Yeah. Thanks for the insight. Yeah, it sounds definitely it is relevant in terms of doing PPC. For I would recommend for any company of different sizes and different industries. But I totally align with you. I mean, if you don't get the results, then there's no point of spending the money. You just every company looks for the return on investment. And that's where it comes in, by working with an agency that brings results, it not only spends the money on your behalf, but actually brings the results, be that leads or be that sales or be that brand awareness or any other goal that your company might have. So I definitely, I think PPC is very relevant. It's very needed, especially now with during the COVID, that quite a few companies out there that they have sales guys, but they are not able to meet in person and bring more sales. So they kind of they are forced to either do virtual meetings, but then how do you set up all those new clients and how do you entertain and qualify those new leads? So it is more relevant today, I would say, than it was before. But as I mentioned, that if you set up a campaign or if you work with an agency and the results are not there, it totally doesn't make sense continuing with that agency for sure.
And if I can squeeze into there, Lori, when I engaged with Agim, actually our clicks went down, but the conversions
went up, which is perfect, right? Yeah,
because like when we were kind of like working it with another, that agency that we worked with in the past, right? It's more of like you put your money there, they get you thousands of clicks, they get you thousands of what do you call traffic,
lots of impressions.
Yeah, but it's not getting us anything. What Agim did for us is like optimizing the campaigns for conversion. So he has things, he talks about like impression shares and all. Agim, can you give us an insight on what to look for in terms of, because it's very complicated and you can just agencies can just come to us and say, hey, I got you this, but what particular metrics really measurable should we look for? Impression shares, whatever, all those terminologies that you say. What should we look for? What is a good performing agency? And I'm gonna write this down.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely makes sense, and it's a great question. The way always it starts with what are the company's goals, objectives? What's the outcome? What are you looking for? Are you looking for leads? Are you looking for phone calls, inquiries, form submissions? Or are you looking for brand awareness? So it depends on the goal. The campaign bid strategy, it changes. So if the goal for the business is just brand awareness, then what you're going to look for is the number of impressions if you showed your ad to the relevant audience, because every business has a target audience that you expect for them to become leads or customers at one point. So if the brand awareness is the goal of the campaign, then you would look for the number of impressions, and then definitely for clicks, and then definitely for the engagement on the site. Did that audience engage with your content? So it's a lot more in deep, but then let's take the other scenario. If you're looking for leads in terms of somebody that's looking to buy a product, then it depends on are you looking for phone calls? And some companies that they're looking for phone calls, but they don't have the people to answer the phone, then the more approach or better strategy is to optimize for leads, so users can submit the form, and then the sales guys can return the follow up with the lead on their own time. So it depends on the actual goal, and it depends on the actual strategy that you look for the actual results of the campaign. If I was able to explain.
Yeah.
Well, that is kind of like given, because there's you either you want leads or you want brand recognition. We know that. What I was trying to get at is two agencies working with the same type of business. How would I, if I'm an agency, how would I tell my client, okay, I'm doing a better job than this one? Because if you look at my, I don't know, impression share or this number, apples to apples, because I know that one of the things that becomes bad with agencies is the set it and forget it, where you will give them keywords. There's 1,000 keywords. They'll set it up, they'll set it and forget it, and then your money is just like dripping away. So my question to Jim was like, what particular metrics can we say? For example, why are you better than the next guy? You tell me, apples to apples. How can you quantify that?
It's a good question, and companies, they can be equally, probably both companies are good, and some companies are, as you said, like set and forget about it, and they're just like spending your money. The bottom line is, are you getting conversions? Are you getting leads? And if you're getting those leads, are you increasing the number of the leads? And is the cost per lead going down or up or staying the same? So that's where a good agency comes in and reviews your account potentially daily, weekly, and monthly, and sees opportunities to increase the number of leads within the set budget, and then lower the cost per acquisition for the same budget for the same period of time. So, but there's big potential as well that if you're getting the actual number of leads that you feel comfortable, the cost per acquisition, then it might make sense that you increase the budget. Now, with the increased budget, a good agency is not just going to increase the budget and forget about the account, but it's going to look so that you get the return on investment, either keeping the same cost per acquisition or lowering it further by increasing the number of leads overall because of the increased budget and because of the lower cost per acquisition that your agency is going to get for you.
Okay, so it is so I guess, so that answers my question. That if I say, okay, my cost per acquisition at this period with this guy is this, now my cost per acquisition with this guy is this, and then because Lori, if we know that we're getting leads, like Jim said, then definitely we add money. But if not, like what you're doing, I'm not spending any money.
Well, and they have to be good leads. So, we subscribe to sources that really have nothing to do with PPC. Definitely those sources are using PPC to get leads, and then they sell them to other people, right? Like us. And they're not good from a quality standpoint. Now, you can convert enough of those to cover the cost and then some. And to me, that's really part of, I think, the PPC game. That's what always made me happy, was that if I could convert enough in PPC to at least cover my cost, then I wasn't only breaking even. I had also built all that awareness in addition to breaking even. So that always made me really happy. And for me, it just was that I wasn't getting any solid conversions at all. But one of my main questions, and I still don't know if I know how to do this correctly, Agim, but it's in the material handling world, we can focus on several things, right? We can pick new or used equipment. We can pick service. We can get super nitty gritty. And going broad really doesn't seem to suit us well. We almost need to be more specific with the type of search terms that we buy. And I don't ever feel confident that I know how to pick those search terms, or that an agency knows how to help me pick the right ones either. So, what kind of advice do you give to people when you get started with them? Like, how would you help me determine how to begin a program and what type of search terms to start with?
Yeah. Lori, that's a great question. Definitely, every great campaign, PPC campaign, starts with the keyword research.
Yeah, keyword.
Yeah, so it's very important finding those keywords. We call it keywords, but at the end, it's like the keywords that they trigger the search terms when the user searches for specific product or service. So finding those search terms, it's extensive work. It takes a lot of time and effort, and it takes a good cooperation between the company itself and the agency. It takes a lot of back and forth to see and fine-tune the exact keywords that you want to bid on. Now, we go to even deeper. We look at the Google Search Console. We look at Google Analytics. We see that's where we do a lot of research, and then we say, like, okay, so organically, this is what Google ranks you this landing page or for this product or for this service. And then we see the engagement that you get and the conversion that you get from organic. Basically, that has to be, a website that's been a long time out there. And it's much more harder for a website that's new. But if you have that data, that's where we start with. And then we build up on that keyword list, and we segregate and we group that keyword list based on what is more meaningful, more sense. We build them into themes. And we create ad groups and campaign tailored with specific ads for that particular ad group or theme. Then we analyze the competition. I mean, if a lot of competitors are bidding on the same keyword, the competition for that keyword is high. We get that from Google Keyword Planner. It tells us what is the top bid that is out there for that particular keyword. Now, if you want to go aggressively, we can bid on that very high competitive keyword because the search volume for that keyword is high. So chances you're going to get more users. So potentially you're going to get more customers or more leads to convert. But sometimes it depends on budget, and it depends on how aggressive you want to go. We don't have to bid on those high competitive keywords that the competition is bidding. We do a more research, and we bid on the lower cost per click keywords, which is they're called long tail keywords, which it brings leads at lower cost per acquisition. And then once we run the campaigns, that's where we learn between combining the organic search results with what people are searching, and then what Google is showing your website on organically on SERP. And then we combine with the insight from PPC, and we say, these are the keywords that we're bidding on. This is the results. And then what keyword is converting, what not. So, and we do this weekly, daily, and monthly for clients.
Okay. Brad, what this is making me think of. So my company recently did a keyword site audit. I knew that I was going to pull out of PPC, and where I needed to focus, where I had lost some focus, was my content. And we've always done really well from an SEO perspective because we've been producing content for several years. Very helpful.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, that part is done. And what it has given me are very high level, longer keyword phrases that I likely should, that when I decide to get back into the world of PPC, like, those are the things that I really need to go after. not these generic things of forklift rental and all these basics, right? Because I think when people aren't in the marketing or the PPC world, that's what they do. They type in forklift rental and then they go, hey, Lori, ProLift doesn't show up for forklift rental. Yeah, I know. I know. It's really competitive.
Yeah, that's it.
But how exciting would it be to have a longer keyword phrase that I knew exactly how many monthly searches people did, and for us to target that and to actually get conversions. Like then I would be able to really explain what was happening there.
And to that, Agim, before you answer, and please confirm this, but if your if your web page or your landing page has good SEO, that helps with lower costs, right, Agim, for your ads because you're ranking better. Does it help? Does SEO help PPC in terms of cost?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting question actually. So it indirectly it helps PPC and SEO. They're indirectly help each other. Now, it's not a straight yes or no answer. So where it helps. Now, if a landing page is fully optimized organically, it means it has the answer for what the user is searching for. Yeah. Therefore, it has engagement and it has conversion. And that's where what is the PPC campaign looks for. So if the search term that the user is searching and the keyword that's triggering that, together with the ad itself and with the landing page, Google algorithm takes in consideration all these pieces and says, is the user converting? So to answer your question, if the page is organically optimized and converts and has high engagement, you're going to have the same or better results, much better results with PPC campaign that is sending the same traffic to the same landing page.
Yeah, that was a big learning piece for me too. We didn't have relevant landing pages for all of these terms that we were going after. And that was a big part of the learning. So I think especially from our industry where we are is that you've got to be prepared to build more stuff as you work with your PPC agency. So you can't really put the burden on them to produce all of these results. Like you got to be all in and say, okay, I see that my quality score is lacking. I'm going to build a relevant landing page so that link goes here. And if you can work together, I think you'll have a much more successful conversion.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just adding to it.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Just adding to it. There's a lot of agencies that they either, they don't look it, but there's another factor. Now, let's say you have a product page or you have a service page, which ranks #1 on Google in your area for that word. Now, if you're bidding at the same time with PPC campaign, technically, you're sending your ad is going to show above your organic results. Now, there's two ways to think about it. One way is really good because you take the whole first part of the page with ads and organic. But at the same time, if you're budget conscious, restrained, and you don't want to spend, you just say, okay, so I'm getting enough conversions because I'm ranking #1 or #2 organically. And there's that perception that for the wise user, they know that they're ads because it says ad. So technically they go for organic.
Yeah.
So now when it comes a good agency, it presents you, okay, so these are the keywords that you rank #1, #2, #3 organically. And then this is the result that we get from bidding for the same keywords that those landing pages rank organically, but we're having a PPC campaign that we're spending money on it. And then you compare the results, and then you come with a decision. You want to bid on, or you want to keep those keywords that you rank on #1 and #2, #3 out of PPC campaign.
That's really good. Nobody's given me that tip before. But and what you said though is the reason why I don't pay for our company name. We get plenty of conversions, and I don't want to spend my money there. I want to spend it on other things, but nobody has given me that tip to compare SEO results with PPC.
So
That's
speaking of branding, brand bidding on your own brand, there's quite a few ways of thinking about it. Some companies like to bid on it, some not.
Right.
If there's a mutual agreement sometimes with competitors, they don't bid on you and you don't bid on them. But it all comes to the business decision. Do you want to bid on your own? I mean, usually those the cost per click on your own brand name is lower because it has relevancy. I mean, if your company name is Apple and your domain says Apple, then you're going to end up paying less cost per click versus a company that's called Oranges and it's sending the traffic to Apple. Just an example.
Yeah.
Jim, do you have data? Because we're trying to convince Lori to go back to PPC.
I know Red likes his data a lot.
No, just say, are we missing anything if we're not doing PPC? Is there somewhere we can look at online that says, okay, your area, you're missing this number of searches for the keyword that you're doing, and then it translates to not totally lost business, but somehow lost business because people are searching for products and you are not advertising. Is there any information?
So every business and every industry is different. So there are generalized data out there that, it's like per industry. How much insight is going to give that versus your own data and research, it's totally different. So the way I would go about this, Red, is I would definitely come up and review and come up with a list of keywords that you want, that you think you want to get leads for or sales from those keywords that that your audience, potential target audience, is searching for. So then we would say, okay, so where do you rank organically? Do you have the content? If you have the content, where do you rank? If you rank on page 1, great. You're getting are you getting the traffic? How good is your click-through rate on page 1? Because if Google ranks you on page 1 and over time the click-through rate goes down, most likely your rankings are going to go down because you don't seem relevant. Users are not clicking. Google is showing you on page 1, but not clicking. So you do that research and you find out that you find the keywords that you want to rank for or you want to bid on with a PPC campaign. And then you say, okay, so I'm not ranking for those keywords, so I'm not getting traffic. But you see that competition is bidding on because you see the ads. If you search on Google or Bing, you see the ads there. And then you make a decision. Do I want to bid on these keywords? Then you definitely there's two options. You either go with a longer strategy, which is SEO, and you build the content, or you enhance and you improve the existing content that is ranking, but is not ranking number 1. Or if you want to capture those searches and get all that relevant traffic and target that audience that is searching for your product or your service right now, then you build out a PPC campaign and you target those users. And sometimes it's a combination of both. You use PPC in combination with SEO. Now, SEO is an investment because you have to create the content, you have to do the research, you have to always be out there and improve. But the long-term result is that you get higher ranking by improving the content and providing valuable information for the user that's searching for your product or services. And it's a longer time investment. But at the end, if the user searches for that product or service and your page or product ranks number 1, then that is literally free. If you think for that moment that the user converted or submitted the form.
Can you live on SEO alone? If you're a business that is like wanting customers, can you live on SEO alone? Because my thinking is for our type of customers, normally you would not really research on Google long term. Long tail. I would just do forklift rental if I'm looking for a rental, or I'm just gonna do used forklift. So my question to Jim was, can you just live on SEO alone?
So it's hard to answer yes or no. It comes with the answer. It should be a balanced one. The way I see it is are you capturing if the number of searches a month in your area, it's 1,000 per used forklift near me, but organically you're capturing probably not even 1% of that traffic, then it depends. Do you want the business, the additional business that's out there that the competition is getting, or no? So, but the answer, and then sometimes there's not budget enough. It depends on the company size. It depends on budget. It depends on the strategy. And then sometimes people just don't live on PPC or SEO. Sometimes it's either one. The companies, they have hard time to decide like which one will give me a better return on investment.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Black and white. Yeah, it's not black and white. I guess it depends on your needs, your budget, and what the competition is doing. Look at all of
yeah. I think that's been a huge change in this industry. Is there were some independent dealers, right? So just standalone forklift dealers that made the leap into PPC early. And there were likely bigger manufacturers that made the leap into PPC early as well. But not everybody. Well, now we all know about it. We know what it does. And now everybody's kind of leaping into it. And in some ways, we're competing with one another in areas that we don't need to compete with one another. So I feel like that is definitely has affected my campaigns in the past, is that they were strong for a while, but now we've seen this steady increase of more people getting into PPC, buying the words, and I just couldn't stay at the same level of being competitive. And so for me, I definitely know that there's still value. I just knew that the way that I was doing it today wasn't working, and I couldn't throw the money. It felt like I was just kind of tossing it into the garbage. So I decided to really say, well, how else can I use this money this year until I can really think about it? And I think when I go back into PPC, I'm going to move much slower with fewer campaigns. I really want to be so specific and focused to what we need, and stop worrying about where do we rank for used forklift. Is it important? Yes, it's important, but I know I can't be as competitive as these bigger manufacturers who are dumping a lot of budget dollars into it. And I have to really walk away from that. So I want it, but I'm going to try to figure out how to get it with a different, I think, longer phrase.
Yeah. Jim, what would be your tip for a company that does not have a big budget to start with? Lori's company is not a small company. So I'm confident that if she's able to show results, that they can budget. That's why she's saying
exactly.
That's why she's saying she wants to start slow. But if I want to start slow, I have this amount of money. What can I do to maximize this so that I can snowball this to get more in the future? What would be your tip?
I would say that probably coming up with exactly where you want to focus, what product or what part of the business you want to focus on, and just start with a test campaign with a small budget, and then see what the results are before you're scaling up or down.
Yeah, that's good. And that's good, Red, because I think that there's a lot of dealers in our network, and they do struggle with that. PPC is not cheap. I don't care, and like what might be a small market for us, because of the city, it's not really a small market in the land of Google. And so it's already more expensive, even though I know there's not as much potential there for us directly. But it keeps people at the dealerships away from putting it into the budget. They feel like that they can't get approval. And I would rather that somebody started small and did a test campaign than to never do anything at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, very cool. Thanks for that tip, Agim. So if we could just move on to our next question. I guess we're saying that it's still relevant.
Still relevant.
Are there new trends right now, Agim, in the PPC world, not just Google, but anywhere? What are the new trends right now?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? So the platform is evolving, and that's where it comes in. That working with an agency that keeps on top of these platforms is very important, because they're experts on the field. If there's anything new in terms of trends or new features of the platform, or evolving, or a combination of different platforms. I mean, something that we didn't touch is an agency that has experience to run campaigns on different platforms, including potential LinkedIn, Facebook, Microsoft Ads, and campaign. And then by retargeting and remarketing to the users and following them. So there's quite a few trends in terms of PPC. I'm just, briefly, I'm going to just name a couple of them. I mean, in terms of audience targeting, it's becoming more important now, with quite a few privacy changes, both on Google and Apple implementing the privacy settings on their iDevices as well. The ability to for an agency or for a marketer to target the audience and then see where these users and targeting and following them from each platform or mobile versus like the desktop. They come from mobile and desktop. So making all these connections and being able to target the right audience, it's very trendy and very important, as always been. Another thing that's trendy is video ads. Actually, video ads are becoming very important, and the same thing YouTube. I mean, as you are doing now, building videos on YouTube, building a channel. It just shows to the users that it's more reputable. A user would rather buy or purchase or request information from a company that has some videos on YouTube or another platform, because they can get a better insight as to who you are and what you do, or you seem more prominent or more reputable company versus the competition. So right now, almost 80% of traffic on website comes from videos. So it's becoming very trendy, and I suggest for any company, or it depends on company and product and services, but it's something to look at for this year and next year. So, and then Google is coming up by upgrading the platform with smart bidding. Now that you all this artificial intelligence and Google algorithm knows the probability of a user to convert, although they have different, very similar, two different users, but Google's algorithm and platform has an edge of identifying which one will convert, therefore giving you that conversion for the cost per acquisition. And then all the bid strategy, target cost per acquisition, return on investment, or maximize the conversions. Google is getting better and better on this. Mm-hmm. And then another thing that is new with first data, where it comes, is that Google came up with the Ads Data Hub technology, that every user first is first data, second data, and third data. The first data is when the user engages with your website, and you have that data directly by engaging with your user, or you have the customer list that they purchased from you or they inquired for your services. So that's first data. The second data is where these platforms come in, like Google and Facebook, that they have their own data, but they provide through their platforms to you. And then the third data party is all these companies that they combine your data with Google data, and then they sell it. So that's it. In terms of Ads Data Hub technology, Google is merging their own data with first party, which is yours, and then identifying a better audience for you to target.
All that hidden data, right? Like where Google Analytics and so much of it's hidden.
Exactly. And, and another one is voice search. A lot of people, they have phones, they're doing voice search. So the searches are now longer, because when you talk on a mobile phone, you tend to just have a longer ask or question, versus when you search on Google for a specific product. I think those are some of the trends that I see potentially, but there's quite a few. But I mean, major.
How about that one that you told me about, the form, like Google Ads, where the form is already on that ad?
So
is that Facebook or Google? Google.
So both Google and Facebook, actually. That is it's been a while. It's not implemented. It's not widely used, and for the right reasons. It depends on the campaign. It depends on the product. Depends on the audience itself.
Yeah, they got to be really ready to talk about it to fill the form out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So the way is like the way it goes with those. You start by testing a form, and then be that on Google or Facebook. We've had great success, on Facebook and Google. It just depends on what you're offering and what you're asking, because a lot of users, they don't want to go to a website. They're doing the search right on Google by showing the form right there, or on Facebook. It's easier for them just to fill out that form. They know what they're looking for. Why send me to your landing page, which I want to continue my journey. I probably have a phone call, or I have to jump off the bus and just go with my daily routine. So I don't have the time probably to go to another website and then I'll come back again and do the search on Google. So it's an easier, and then you see the results. If the results are what as expected, you scale up or down and continue with the campaign.
Yeah, that's good. Red, if you haven't tried it, he mentioned the kind of the Google dynamic ads, so you're giving them headlines and some of the content. I did use that prior to getting rid of the campaign, and I fully believed that it worked. I think that's why my impressions were getting better, is because we were letting Google really figure out what the perfect ad build looked like. So I think anybody that's not using that or asking their agency to implement that, that's definitely worth exploring.
Totally, I agree.
Yeah, sorry. Now to that, Jim, in saying that Google is improving all the algorithm and making it easy to advertise, why do we still need an agency like you?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's been asked all the time. So
Jim's like, all the time.
Well, tell us.
So Google is getting better and better, but I wouldn't trust the money for any platform to spend it. I mean, think of it like, if you're looking for a forklift, to buy a forklift. Now, the part of it, first of all, the actual word forklift, it can be spelled forklift in two words and in one word. Now, that's right. What I've seen a lot of times is Google suggests to add or target search terms that totally are irrelevant. So although their algorithm is so good, they suggest to target variations of those keywords that you're targeting on but they're not relevant to your product. That user is not your user. That user is not ever going to target. That's just an example. There's a lot that goes on into building a successful PPC campaign in terms of the strategy, the goal, and then with it, I mean, even the keywords itself are relevant. Doing the keyword research, if you just let Google run it, you're missing out on a lot of, as we touched a little bit briefly earlier on long tail keywords and other keywords that they might be a better user to target and better conversion within your own company. So there's a lot that goes into what an agency does in daily and weekly and monthly basis versus what would Google do on its own. Although each agency, I mean, we work with Google's algorithm, we work with their AI, and we know what's good and what's not, but you need always somebody to manage the campaign to see if you're getting the relevant leads, the quality leads that you're looking for cost per lead, and the number of leads per month.
So you cannot really set it and forget it, because Lori and I can go in Google and say, these are my keywords, Google, figure it out. And then we just come back quarterly and see. We cannot, that is not a good thing, Agim?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't recommend. And sometimes, you know, I have thought myself, I never mentioned, but it's just like having, I would compare it to similar, like having, you want to invest $100,000 and you give it to somebody and say, like, invest it, it's gone, set and forget. They put it on a stock out there, and then at the end you say, like, oh, but my stock has gone down, my money is not there. But chances are you might get a profit as well. But it's not the way to run a PPC campaign, is always having somebody to manage it. Although you get some good results by letting Google sometimes optimize the campaigns as well.
Okay. Well, Lori was asking, like, what do you look for? Is that Lori? Like, what was how to find a good agency? What were you wondering there? What to look for in a good agency, like a PPC agency? What if someone's coming to us and say, we get a lot of phone calls. I don't know, Lori, if you do, but we got a lot of phone calls from guys saying, okay, I can help with your PPC. What are good signs that they're a good company to work with?
Yeah, it's very important, actually, and I mean, I can just give some tips. I've seen a lot of there's agencies out there, and you know, small and big, and what I would look for is the depth of expertise the agency has, and definitely you want to get results. So if an agency has the expertise, that's what you're looking for. Are they diversified? Do they have different? Do they have experience on your market? Are they transparent? It's very important. I've seen some agencies that they own the account and they just build you some reports. So having an agency that you own the account, you work with the agency, working with them, because it's not just like, okay, here's the budget and then I need the leads. It's a work between the agency and the company itself. Because where it comes, when you set up the campaign, as we mentioned earlier, like there's a quality score that if the landing page is not converting, but everything else, the ad is very relevant, the keyword that we think we should target is very good keyword, the search term is relevant. So we're sending the users, but the users are not converting. So that's where it comes, working with the agency and say, like, is the agency responsive and works with you to build a better landing page? What they offer? Do they have knowledge? Do they have the expertise? Can they work with your platform? Can they do it for you? And then, does the agency provide you with tracking as well? Is the tracking transparent? Do you have access to it? Do you have the access to the platform? Another thing is they do the reporting. you want an agency that does a live reporting. You want to have access to that live reporting. So you don't want to wait at the end of the month or the end of the quarter or 6 months and say, oh, can you build me a report? And some agencies charge for reporting. So having a live report, you have access to it. You know how your campaigns are doing, where your money is being spent. And then at the end, sometimes things go wrong. You want to break up with the agency. Do you have? Are you going to have that account access to it? Is it going to be yours? And the same thing for reporting. You don't want to set up reporting from fresh. Or is that reporting on a platform that, if you have access, is going to be still continuing to report on if you continue the campaigns and so on? I mean, these ones are some of the major ones, but there's some other factors as well. So like depth of expertise, transparency, and ability to retain control of your account and reporting are some of the things that I would look for on an agency.
Yeah, very important, especially the transparency piece. You know, if someone isn't willing to really educate you on how they're spending your money, or to even just teach you something. I mean, I have a great need to learn. I want to learn. I want it to be a partnership that's an extension of like my local marketing team. And I've always found that when an agency holds it too tight, that's typically a red flag for me. That there's a reason why they're not being as transparent. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Lori, I think this might have been.
I think so, Red. We've gone a little while, but
you can go some more. But maybe we can do a part 2 when you're already back to PPC.
Right, when I go back in my success story. That's not a bad idea. But for now, we definitely want people to know how to find you, Agim, in case they have questions or want to learn more about Quest Media 360.
Yeah, for sure. We have our website is qm360.ca, and then we have the contact information there, and it's very easy to get in touch with us.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. We'll see you maybe on part 2.
It's not a bad idea, Red.
Yeah. So, Lori, I'll see you in the next episode.
All right, Red. Till then.